All right, good morning. Um, I wanted to mention this about my considerations about libertarianism and modern day, the collapse of libertarianism in the United States. Um, as we're just seeing the tail end of it, I think a new cycle of libertarian will come up after Ron Paul is probably one of the last classical, I guess, classical libertarians. But today I was just disturbed today because I love to watch Ron Paul's channel, but I realized something is that all of the ideas that Ron Paul talks about and his guy are, although they're great ideas, why is it that Ron Paul himself is such a weak loser? Now, I don't mean to be cruel, like this is not a personal attack on him. I would actually love to buy him lunch. I'd love to hang out and discuss things with him, but the fact is this, is that he's a kindly old fumbler. And other presidents of the United States, if you go back and look at them, like, Jackson, all those kind of guys, had very similar sort of ideas. Jefferson. Jefferson was arguably a fumbler as well, right? But for example, Jackson had a lot of similar ideas as Jefferson, but was extremely practical. And it came because there's the missing ingredient is, I'm going to sort of try to explain it, make my best guess. I don't mean to come off as like knowing better, but there's an element of practicality that has abandoned the libertarian. The libertarian, originally in the United States, at the start, creative aspect of the United States, was seeking to build his own island so that he could bridge it to others. Okay? This is at the start of the cycle. Today, the libertarian is more trying to find his own island to cut the bridge. And that's the death cycle of the libertarian. It's and the truth is you have to build the bridges, and then you have to continue to communicate with the environment. And even though I wish that wasn't true, it really is true. And that means that the libertarian has to have another aspect to him in order to make any sense, in order to not be a weak, fumbling moron. And yeah, I do think Ron Paul is a weak, fumbling moron. And it comes back to this. You have to be a productive citizen. You have to be contributing more to the higher power, to yourself spiritually, to the physical world, to providence, to your society, to your mother, to your father, to your government, to whatever aspect of existence. You have to be able to consider that you are able or capable of giving more to something than you need to take from it. If this condition is not met, then you become a parasite. You become dependent on another thing, okay? And this is a little bit of a precursor to the American libertarianism, because America is actually a Freemason based state, or whatever. And really, the central banking couldn't even come in until Freemasonry was all but disbanded, right, or taken over in the United States. And partly because the subject of ethics, which is personal, one's personal choice regarding morals, right, was only defined versus morals in Freemasonry, okay? Now, Ron Paul, I know for a fact, is not a Freemason, and he makes a very weak leader. Very weak, okay? Fumbling around, trying to be a nice guy. Now, you can be a nice guy, but you got to know how to manage production and how to do something with great expertise, or else being a libertarian is suicide in this world. If you seek great skill first, if you seek out to deliver goods and services or something to someone somehow, if you become a master of that, you can escape the parasite cycle. So the point is this, is that the man who tries to build an island unto himself as a modern day libertarian is actually still a parasite upon the defense of the state, right? And so this is where the Bitcoiners, they try to get into this thing of like, you know, we should all just have our own possessions with the right to own them, and then no one should just use any force on me, right? And the actual way to protect that is through maintaining communication with the society, not by trying to isolate oneself out of it. And because we don't have any libertarians that are actually very productive, well, there are some, but they're kind of quiet, or maybe they set an example in a way that I don't see. So I don't mean to minimize the people who are productive. I'm not minimizing anyone who does anything, but I am saying that the reason why Ron Paul makes a terrible leader and no one would ever follow him into battle ever is because obviously he doesn't do anything. He doesn't actually produce anything, and he has nothing to offer society other than a bunch of philosophy, right? And people don't follow shit like that, you know? People follow people who can do shit well. And when you can set an example by doing shit well, you're the fucking authority. And back in the days, in the early days of libertarianism, yeah, the libertarians were better at shit. They could set a better example. Collectivist groups were inefficient. Even a single libertarian with strong determination could get more done in the early days of America than a bunch of fucking idiotic collectivists who are like, you know, ineffective and inefficient. You know, nowadays the libertarian is up against, you know, complete automation of production. And the libertarian, because he's been so lazy, not producing for hundreds of years, he doesn't even know his advantage over the collectivist. And the true advantage that the libertarian has is in his great skill and his great friendliness, and in the quality of delivery of an aesthetic product to another soul, one-on-one. Vin Armani calls it the human touch. You know, you can call it whatever you want, but it was taught in Freemasonry, okay? And ever since the Americans kicked out Freemasonry, you got these weak libertarians, right, who don't understand how they got the luxury of being able to try to build an island and cut the bridges, you know? And there is a new type of libertarian coming who is a doer, okay? It's a man who can he can produce more into the world than he himself will consume. And it's the man who can not just talk the philosophy of free markets, right? But he's strong enough to handle and overcome the punishment of and duress of a non-free market and still come ahead, right? In that way, you know, libertarianism will return. But for now, it's dead, and it dies with Ron Paul, really. Okay, thank you.